While President Yoon Suk-yeol has vowed to improve bilateral ties with Japan, historical issues continue to be an obstacle. At a time when the two countries are seeking ways to deter North Korea's threats and hostilities in the region, could the world see the two countries come to an agreement on the sensitive historical issue of compensating victims of forced labor during World War II? While the South Korean government has been openly engaging with victims of forced labor, how is Japan approaching this situation? We have Jeff Kingston, professor of Asia Studies at Temple University, Japan, this morning. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Now, Moon and Abe were unable to resolve this issue. What are the chances that Yoon and Kishida can overcome this impasse?
Yeah, Moon and Abe were at odds from the beginning, had a very chilly relationship. The deal that was negotiated with Park Kyung-hee about the copper woman basically was dead on arrival. Moon asked Abe to make a public apology. He refused. And so it came across as a half-hearted, carefully calibrated gesture aimed at preserving Japan's legal position. So Kishida is very much aware of how that deal went south very quickly. And so as foreign minister, he was involved. So I think he's quite wary. And, because Yoon is very unpopular, he looks almost already like a lame duck president. So does it make sense to strike a deal with him? And Kishida is also extremely weak. He has really plunged in the polls, mostly due to the Unification Church scandal that is roiling Japanese politics. So it looks like a very difficult time to reach an agreement.
Right, and we know that South Korean government has made efforts to be in touch with the victims that the court ruled for. How does Japan want to approach this issue at this point? It's not a matter of factual whether there was a wartime forced labor or not. So what are the barriers to reaching an agreement?
I think there are huge political barriers. I think Kishida sees no particular upside politically for him and a big downside. Revisionists rule the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, and they are interested in rehabilitating Japan's wartime and colonial history. They, I don't think, are that interested in concluding a deal. Now, the thing is, there is money available. A foundation was set up in 2014. POSCO has donated plenty of money to compensate the 300-odd victims. So money isn't the issue. The proposal's on the table. It's really waiting Japan to respond. And I think that it's probably unlikely that Kishida is going to seize the moment. The chances are there, but because he's so politically weak and the Unification Church is linked to South Korea, I don't think he can make enough concessions for Yoon, and I also think that Yoon cannot make enough concessions for Kishida. So I think the political weakness on both sides creates a lot of headwinds for a deal. And some people are still optimistic. Something might be negotiated by the end of the year. Let's see, but I'm not holding my breath.
Right, and the window to settle this issue is getting smaller and smaller. One of the victims, Kim Ok-sun, died a couple of days ago, age 93. There aren't many of the victims left at this point to see Japan's compensation. Is Japan trying to just drag this issue out for as long as it can?
Well, I think that really Kishida is in a position where it's difficult for him to move forward on this. And the tragic result is many of the victims will die before any deal is reached. I don't think maybe they're dragging their feet waiting for them all to die, but I think that they don't really see an upside. And the thing is, in the deal, that they could actually resolve the issue, it would require money, which is available, and Japan would have to offer some expression of apology or sincere contrition. And that, I think, is a stumbling block. So I think that unless Japan makes a grand gesture, this issue won't be resolved. And I just don't think Kishida is likely to do so.
Right, I mean, it's a complicated issue. And thank you for putting in a basic term for everyone to understand. And I hope you have a great morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You too.